Hey, so if you've ever heard the word terraform and it just sounded kind of complicated or intimidating, you are in exactly the right place. It's one of the biggest tools in tech right now, and over the next few minutes, we're going to break it all down and make it super simple. And yeah, if you are feeling a little confused, that is totally normal. Believe me, it's a big idea. So to really bring some clarity, we're going to start by clearing the air and tackling the biggest misconceptions first. Sometimes the best way to understand something new is to just get clear on what it isn't. So let's bust a few of the most common myths right now. These are the two big ones, right? People either think it's the super complex programming language you have to spend years learning, or they think it's some kind of magic wand you wave at the cloud. And look, those are understandable guesses, but the reality is actually a lot simpler and way more interesting. All right, let's be super clear. First, Terraform is not a programming language like Python or Java. Second, it doesn't replace cloud providers like AWS or Azure. Not at all. It actually works with them. And maybe most importantly, it isn't some service that just lives in the cloud. It's a tool that you run, that you control. Okay, this right here, this is the key idea to lock in. Think of Terraform as the architect holding a perfect blueprint. The architect doesn't hammer any nails or pour any concrete. The cloud provider, that's your AWS, your Azure, they are the construction crew. They take that blueprint and do all the actual physical building. So Terraform plans the work, the cloud provider works the plan. So why do we even need a planner like this in the first place? Well, to really get that, we have to take a quick look back at the kind of chaotic world that existed before it. For a long, long time, this was just how it was done. It was painful. You'd log into a website, and then you'd start this endless marathon of clicking. Click here for a server, click through 5 different menus for a network, manually type in a bunch of settings, all while just hoping you didn't forget a crucial step. And then you'd have to do it all over again for the next project. Honestly, this whole process is just a recipe for disaster. It is so easy to make a mistake. Did you forget one little checkbox? Did you type a 1 when you meant to type a 2? These tiny human errors cause huge problems, and it makes it almost impossible to get a consistent result every time, which is just a total nightmare for any serious team. So if all that manual clicking is the problem, what's the solution? Well, it's a concept that really did change the entire game. The idea of treating your infrastructure just like a blueprint. And that solution is called Infrastructure as Code, or IAC for short. Now, don't let the name scare you off. The idea is incredibly simple. Instead of clicking a bunch of buttons on a website, you just write down what you want in a text file. That's it. Your servers, your databases, your networks, everything is just defined as simple text. This analogy just makes it crystal clear. Manual clicking is like trying to build a house by just shouting verbal instructions at your construction crew. You're going to forget things will get mixed up, and every house will probably turn out a little different. Infrastructure as code is like handing that same crew a perfect, detailed blueprint. Every single house they build from that blueprint will be identical. That's the power right there. It's repeatable and totally reliable. And here's where it gets really cool. That powerful blueprint, it's just a simple text file. And because it's a text file, you can save it in a system like Git. Your entire team can work on it together. You can see every single change that's ever been made, creating a perfect history of everything. Okay, so we've covered the what and the why. Now let's get into the how. What does this actually look like when you're doing the work? The whole workflow is actually pretty straightforward. First, you write your blueprint in that text file we talked about. Second, you tell Terraform to create a plan, and it will show you step by step exactly what it's going to build, change, or even delete. Third, if you like that plan, you say go, and Terraform talks directly to the cloud provider. And fourth, the cloud provider follows those instructions perfectly and builds your stuff. Now, this is a really, really important point to get. Terraform itself, it runs on your computer. It's not some service floating around in the cloud. You run the commands on your own machine, it figures out the plan, and then it sends the final instructions up to the cloud provider. Terraform is the messenger. The cloud does all the heavy lifting. So we know what it is, we know how it works, but the really big question is, why should you care? What makes this tool so important for businesses and engineers? But before we dive into the benefits, let's address the number one fear every single beginner has, which is, hey, if I run this command a second time, is it going to create everything all over again and leave me with a giant bill? And you know what? That is a great question. And the answer is a huge, reassuring no. And this is what makes Terraform so incredibly smart. It doesn't just act blindly. Before it does anything, it actually looks at your cloud account to see what's already there. It compares that reality to your blueprint, and then it only makes the exact changes needed to make them match. The shopping list analogy is perfect. It's not buying a whole new cart of groceries every time, it's just adding the milk you forgot to get. So who's actually using this stuff in the real world? Well, it's the daily tool for DevOps engineers, cloud engineers, platform engineers, basically the folks who build and maintain all the digital infrastructure we rely on. But what's cool is we're seeing more and more software developers use it too, so they can define the exact servers and databases their own applications need. And for businesses, the benefits are just massive. First, there's speed. You can deploy entire systems in minutes, not days or weeks. Then there's consistency. You get the exact same perfect setup every single time, no exceptions. And finally, by automating everything, you dramatically reduce mistakes, getting rid of the single biggest cause of problems, simple human error. If you only remember one thing from all of this, let it be this right here. You describe your perfect world, your ideal setup, in a simple text file. Then Terraform's one and only job is to look at the real world and do whatever it takes to make it match your description. That's the whole game, and it is incredibly powerful. And please, don't feel like you have to be some kind of cloud genius to get started with this. The real beauty of Terraform is that you can start small. Just define one server, then maybe add a network. You build up your blueprint, and you build up your own knowledge, one piece at a time. So now you have the foundation. You get the what, you get the why, you understand the power of having a blueprint for the cloud. The only real question left is, with this new ability to build pretty much anything you can imagine, what's the first thing you're going to build?